Welcome to YCast episode 2. I'm your host Sankalp, and today we'll be diving into a topic that touches every click, every swipe, and every data point we generate. Who really owns the data? In an age where personal data is both currency and a liability, understanding how it's secured, used, and governed is more important than ever. Joining me today are two leaders from different ends of the spectrum, but both united by the challenges of data, protection, and trust. Mr. Atul Pandey, a seasoned Chief Information Security Officer with a deep experience in security and compliance leadership, and Mr. Tirumalesh Chalamarla, the CEO and co-founder of Indus Data Solutions. Thank you for joining. Let's start by getting to know both of you better. Atul sir, could you briefly share your journey in cybersecurity so far?
Oh, well, uh, basically, I'm a mechanical engineer. So, in case you guys have seen that movie of R. Madhavan, Rehna Hai Tere Dil Mein, so that's what I used to tell my juniors or team members that I'm a mechanical engineer, but I'm teaching you computers. So, I'll be a computer teacher. So, that's how it started. And at heart, a mechanical engineer. I started off with Mahindra with the automobile design and stress testing simulation using AutoCAD 2000. Picked up a small fight with somebody in IT team, and I'm here. So basically, I'll cut it short. I'm Atul Pandey, CISO slash DPO slash CRO, or your compliance troubleshooter guy with over 20 years of global experience in cybersec, data privacy, and risk governance. I peculiarly focus on building scalable, business aligned security programs that drive resilience, ensure regulatory trust, and empower the secure digital innovation across dynamic enterprise environments. Something that you guys are doing it very efficiently at Indus.
That's great to hear, sir. Uh, yes. Tirumali sir, what inspired you to start Indus and build YSafe? Tell us a bit about your path in the tech and the security.
Yeah, sure. So I was an engineer working in US at the time when 2019 there was a massive attack. I mean, cyber hack happened. It's called Capital One attack. I think it's the
Mhm.
biggest so far. And I was there, and I was personally involved in a tragedy where a person committed suicide. Because of the aftermath of it, I think she's an old lady, lost around 40, 50K, and that's a huge amount. And uh, so that started putting some thoughts in my mind. Why is this happening? Uh, and then the blame started. Platform teams, platform providers like cloud providers, blaming on the uh, the user, the customer of the cloud provider, and the customer, who's in this case Capital One, uh, blaming cloud provider, saying things, right? Of course, there was a lawsuit and some compensation has been paid, but the last life has not been recovered, right? I mean, it's not possible. Uh, so I In my mind, it raised a fundamental question of why it is a problem. My understanding is Capital One just used some rules, policies in an IAM, configured them. According to cloud provider, they configured it too liberally, meaning they gave more permissions than the need for a system. So it can do multiple things. So some breach happened, right? My understanding is, why is that system level trust at the first place? Why are we trusting systems? So there is some fundamental problems in the security that I saw, and that's what started my journey. And how do I minimize the attack surface so that all these will become irrelevant? Systems should become irrelevant, admins should become irrelevant, uh, policy mistakes should be very minimum, and there should be a lot of help for CSOs, CASOs, and engineering teams, technical teams, and the legal teams, in terms of support, proof, those things that are needed from the product itself, from the technology itself. So that's what drove me to build Indus and YSafe. I can today proudly say that we as a team in Indus achieved kind of the goal that I initially envisioned or dreamed about. So YSafe is the world's safest cloud file storage, and I can say the attack surface is less than 1.5% compared to anything that is available in the world today. Just compare it to anything that is available in the world today, we are like 60, 70x better in terms of security. And the attack surface is less than 1.5%. So that's a remarkable achievement from the technical point of view. And now I
Certainly.
need to bring that technical marvel into helping people, our customers, right? Easing their pain and actually showing results in terms of breaches, vulnerability mitigations, all those things. So that's my journey so far.
Impressive.
That's impressive, sir. Like I find it interesting. Like both of you come from a different sides of a table. Like Atul sir from corporate and compliance side, and Tirumalesh sir from the product and the innovative side. Yet both are solving the same problem, like how to keep the data safe. Yeah. Moving on.
Correct.
Atul sir, like we always hear that security is everyone's job, but in real life, who actually owns this responsibility in large companies?
Well, security ownership must be distributed, but accountability needs to be established. The board sets your risk appetite, executives are allocating the resources, and every employee executes because we all are working in that ecosystem. Where this fails is unclear accountability. I established that basic RACI matrices even for small security decisions. Otherwise, the business units they own data classification, whereas my team, which is providing framework and tools, and other rest of the users in between, who may or may not be contributing or accessing it directly indirectly, they will be completely unaware. Any wrong click would bring the castle down. For example, the DPDP implementation underway, this clarity is now regulatorily mandated. I'm glad I was just working on those lines that elevating security governance to board level concern has been eventually achieved by the government of India. And I'm looking forward how it actually percolates down to every industry which is affected and regulated by that. Most importantly, you say the security KPIs should be for all executives, not just IT leadership or the CISOs or your data privacy officers.
So basically, you're saying like it's a shared responsibility, not just specific to a
Indeed,
department.
indeed.
Okay. Tirumalesh, like you have worked with many teams, tech team, legal team, compliance teams. Like, do they all speak the same language in terms of security?
Uh, yes and no. Mainly what I have seen, the legal teams are mostly driven by after effects, right? How do we reduce the impact? How do we reduce the exposure, legal exposure? How do we mitigate the brand value reduction? Those things will be mainly focused for legal teams, right? And the compliance teams will be mainly focusing on compliance. Are we compliance ready, or is it provable that we are compliance? Right? Can we prove it if something goes wrong and people ask, hey, can you show me, are you really compliant? How do we prove it? So that's the point of view from the compliance teams, right? That's why you see most complaints in any organization goes towards complaints teams. They say no always, right? I want to implement this feature. Hey, no, this has this kind of breach. Go look and solve some other way, right? So in any big organization, complaints is the villains, but
Very
they are
true.
holding the fort. They are holding the fort so that the legal team's work will be reduced or minimized, and the exposure is less, right? So that's compliance job. And coming to the technical teams, they want to. There are two types of technical problems they want to solve. The first is the business side of it. They want to innovate and be superheroes in their business that they are solving for their customers. At the same time, they have to fight with compliance teams to get that feature certified or accepted, right? Most of the time that
It's
becomes
happening. Yes.
challenging. So yes, that's where we are trying to come in, where our entire goal is to reduce the number of no's that the compliance teams will say. because we share the burden from the compliance teams. We share the burden of proof. We share the burden of compliance with the regulatory authorities. All those things we share a burden along with them. So if we have that kind of platform, the number of no's will go down, and the technical team can really focus on their job, their technology, their innovations for their customers, right? That's where Indus and YSafe helps. Getting these teams along. That's the hope.
Rightly said.
Any comments, sir?
Actually, I only can say that Tirumalesh, you have been born much later and born in a worked in a different continent probably. Otherwise, I would have loved to have a counterpart like that in the organization, especially from the product team, because you won't believe I was heading automation anywhere as a global delivery head, and I literally snatched the compliance role from them. I said, no outsiders. I'll do it myself. I'm handling delivery. I'll handle compliance too. And I set up that so-called, now a routine word, DevOps, which eventually I wanted to cover into DevSecOps, but I was not given approval. So Sec was, the silent word in between. It was DevOps for them. And literally this mature approach from what I've heard with Tirumalesh, this is the need of the hour. And the moment this is happening, believe me, I shouldn't be saying this, but few years down the line, probably I'll be redundant. The product will be good enough, mature enough to do things. And this is what is required. I can't continue being selfish that I need to be the custodian and hold the fort. If the product is good enough, starting off, say, secure SDLC, if that is done by step, believe me, a lot of compliances are already met. We don't even have to go at the control levels to verify or validate anything. So I'm completely in sync with Tirumalisha said, and I'm going to feel glad for the organizations who are going to be your clients. Their CISOs and compliance teams are going to bless you and keep sending you chocolates.
Thank you.
That's
So
great,
just
sir.
one comment. We want to empower you. So we will be your
I
tools,
really appreciate.
right?
No, very mature outright approach. Seriously. I really appreciate this. And I just wish every product owner at least can have a certain degree of this, even acknowledgement, if not the effort. That itself will go a long way. Sankalp, over to you.
Yes, sir. Like we are seeing a lot of regulatory actions in India with DPDPA, RBI frameworks, and sectoral guidelines. Atul sir, like from your experience, how are companies managing this? Does like regulation drive a real change or just a compliance checkbox?
See, if I'll tell you from a security perspective alone, not using the tag word CISO alone, but yes, the compliance teams, the product teams, even for that matter, the business, they all are getting overburdened by evolving regulations. Reason is that we are lacking the strategic management of these burdens. The key is identifying regulatory common denominators rather than treating each framework separately by mapping controls across incoming DPDP, ISMS, that is ISO 27001, RBI guidelines, and for another client, IIDA guidelines. You won't believe we found nearly 65 to 70% of overlap, enabling us to test once in a year but comply many times, each to different regulator. The challenge isn't regulation themselves, but the very mindset and approach to operationalize them without hindering the business.
Hmm.
As the data protection board is developing in conceptual to theoretical and practical amalgamation, implementation guidance, organizations with flexible compliance frameworks will rule the roost, and they will adapt very efficiently.
Okay. Yes. Tirumala sir, like you have worked in
Rather,
regulation. Yes, yes.
sorry to interrupt. I would like one statement to pass on to Tirumalesh, because what Tirumalesh has detailed, that actually brings in perspective what I wanted to say. Building the compliance by design into development processes will scale the regulatory adherence with business growth like anything. Please, over to you.
Yes. So like the compliance expectations are ever evolving. Like how do you balance that with building products and solutions for the clients?
This is targeted to me, right?
Yes, yes.
Yes.
Yes. So yeah, I think we need to flip the coin here. I mean, that compliance and evaluation are evolving compliances should not be
Hello.
thought as an afterthought, right? So it's
Hmm.
where your product design should start. This is a fundamental responsibility of any organization. I mean, now governments are mandating it with regulations. That's where the design of product should start. Uh,
Very true.
but, 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 but understand a simple SME who wants to solve a specific problem in a regulatory industry, they might not have enough resources and tools to thought through this process and I mean, uh, understand this
Mm.
to the least. But that's where the actual products that people are developing, for example, any SME, let's say they want to use a storage, cloud file storage, like what we are developing a YSafe, and then object store very near future. Why not the product itself is compliant? As Atul rightly pointed out, if you put all the compliances together and you can find at least 80% of them are common, so,
Very true.
it's not impossible task to build a product which has this 80% common and get the help from the compliance teams and the product teams to bridge that 20% gap on each domain that compliance that they are working on, right? So the product itself can take care of that 80% burden easily across the domains while building the product to scale to different verticals. That's where you are asking the question come from, right? How are you building a product that can suit to all the different verticals and things like that? This 80% common denominator, whatever is there, is easy to put into a product while we are still thinking about the product itself. That's what we did for YSafe. How can this YSafe be present compliant, past compliant, and future compliant? Right. So if you start with that kind of mindset, right? So things becomes easier. That's how we think, at least at Indus, and that's why we find it kind of helping us. The regulatories, regulations, specifications, all these things are actually helping us designing the product. It just puts us in a streamlined fashion how to approach a design, how to approach a product. Right? So
Very true.
that's how I see it.
I mean, that's just to put it across in a very banal way. There's no point trying to swim against the tide. If you flow with the tide, you'll gain acceleration. And that's what we have to do. Regulations are not something that, we can approve. We are not, unfortunately, not quoting something out of the context, but sitting in a small African country where a dictatorial approach can outrule or thwart anything which is democratic or which is for a larger good. No, that won't happen anymore. Regulations are there for the larger masses, doing good to people who otherwise won't even know what has hit them. So you are helping them. You are actually the parameter via which the success of that regulation will be measured.
Perfect.
Correct, sir. Like moving on, like how businesses like are completely depend on trust in this compliance and security. Like we have trust has become a competitive differentiator in this. I feel like customers want transparency in how their data is handled. So Tirumali sir, like how do you think like startups and growth stage companies are like practically building that trust?
So, okay, all odd questions coming towards me. So, yes, there are two coins again to this. Trust becomes the only hope when there is no technical solution for it, right? And trust becomes a partner when there is a technical solution that can help along with it. Uh, Unfortunately, to my understanding, so far the compliance is purely running on trust, and that's why if you see it, any service that, let's say, you signed up with a cloud provider or anything, it comes with a big legal documents, right? So if data breach happens, this is what we do. This is how much we pay. This is how much insurance we have to take, uh, right? And this is the promise that we are giving so that we are not going to share this data with this, or this is the promise we are trying to put. We are not crossing the geo boundaries, right? So all this is trust and only
That's
trust.
it.
That's because it's not being partnered or accompanied with a technical solution. So we are trying to come up with a partnership along with trust. Hey, can you add this technical assistance as well so that this trust becomes, I mean, partnership rather than the only thing that is there. Uh, right? So what is the benefit of that? The benefit of that is manifold, right? uh, Even with all this trust and all these check boxes and signs that we do, if something goes wrong, the final burden will land on SMEs and growth stage companies. I know Amazon is going to share it, or I know Azure is going to share it, or some other cloud provider is going to share it, but there won't be this SME, this company existence will be threatened. Let's say there is a 150 crore fine on you as a SME violating a DPDP act, right? Or some other act compliance. So even if Amazon or cloud provider shares your burden, the existence of your SME company is at stake,
Very true.
right? And there are not many companies who sees tomorrow to speak about that because that's their last day, and that's why we are
Exactly.
not hearing a lot of stories about that, right?
Very true.
So it's just buried. Those kind of stories will be less. That's what we are bringing, a technical partnership along with trust to the compliance.
Atul sir, like how do large enterprises approach this?
Uh, See, companies, you can say, probably I can use the phrase, there is too much of monitoring. I mean, you have a big budget, you've got all the fancy tools, you've got large dashboards scattered all over the different floors. Great. But this will induce a fatigue, too many unnecessary. There will be a lot of noise, and that voice will be missed in it. And this is exactly what happened with one of the recent uh, breaches, where the report of that anomaly was detected and shared by the tool, as well as it went under through a human oversight. But it was 3 months back. It was not purple, it was not magenta, it was not red. They didn't care. And eventually that led to the entire ruckus. I mean, as I said, the castle fell down. Eventually, everything that you look at comes from very basic anomalies. If we start listing those, believe me, people will be, I mean,
Okay.
running for shelters: incomplete asset inventory, inconsistent patch management, inadequate identity governance. And if I look at a little bit towards technical, then say a simple unpatched VPN, insider threats, misconfigured cloud resources, API security gaps. Believe me, we documented recently on a particular industry. We did a small research, and API security gaps represent significant blind spot. We have documented a growth of almost 300% in API related exposure threat surface across industries in just past 11 months, not even a year. 300% growth. So
Just
organizations tend to look at attack surface, what is reported or already listed somewhere or by somebody else. But it's your product, it's your service, it's your customer. You have to find the threat surface, the vulnerabilities on your own. It has to be unique. If it's not unique, that doesn't mean it's not a threat.
that.
And anything you come across as a threat, unless that is translated into business impact, man, you're not getting the budget even to execute and click that button. But that is governance. That is why it is there. And to enhance the governance, the execution has to go hand in hand with the monitoring, with the alert mechanism, and the human machine hybrid approach. AI is not good enough. Humans are always a weak link in the chain of security, as we famously say. But together, rather, I will pick up where Tirumalesh has guided us. Zero trust is specifically, I mean, I personally feel that when it comes to machines and humans interaction, they should not trust each other at all. There should be verification at every instance. Recheck, validate every decision, even that has been given by a machine or a human. Mutually, they should do that. Then only the security paradigm will see the maturity and evolution that we are looking for.
Like
Yes.
zero trust is kind
And
of the way forward.
Only
Yes, sir. Yes.
least privileges, zero trust. Believe me, these are like you know heart and soul of anything and everything that has to do with compliance achievement.
yes,
Sorry,
Atul,
Tirumalesh, you were saying
just
something. I interrupted.
yeah, just I was fascinated by your answer. I just wanted to add patch management, VPNs, configurations, misconfigurations. When the previous word I said, we are less than 1.5% of attack surface to compare with anything in the world. We had to eliminate all this. Patches should not be in security at all. So we
Very true.
eliminated OS, we eliminated hypervisors, we eliminated bootloaders, we eliminated systems, we eliminated admins of that system. All of this we eliminated from the attack surface. That's the only way we could achieve 1.5% less than, I mean, attack surface compared to anything. So we used something, a technology called confidential computing. When I'm running something inside a system, even if that system is there with my competitor or my arch nemesis or whatever the word we use, and he has full control of that system, I'm still safe. That's the kind of product
Nice.
is YSafe. So
Wow,
we
that's
eliminated
amazing.
all of that from file storage point of view, cloud file storage point of view right now. And we want to be the platform provider where confidential platform or zero trust platforms is the norm. And that's the only way forward. Again, you brought up AI. With AI in the picture, imagine the threat surface. Imagine the attacks, the smartness of the attacks, the small vulnerabilities that humans missed in all these patches and code that we have put together, right? So we sincerely believe we are doing something that governs the way forward for security and especially cloud data storage. Uh, so thank you for validating our uh, assumptions and thesis.
Rightly said. I completely agree with you. And I'm glad that something like this has been worked upon by you. Although it's a tragedy that something bad has to trigger this, but then this is how stories come up. So I'm really looking forward, and I'm glad that something as peculiar as FIPS is being, you can say, leveraged by you for creating this solution, putting it in place. And I see the thing is that if we say the most underappreciated shift in moving from security as a cost center to security as a business enablement has been achieved because another critical shift, moving from perimeter based to data centric security approaches, protecting information irrespective of their location. The traditional network boundaries have eroded, and that necessitated the identity centric security. And this is what you are bringing up, you are putting together. Because, see, anywhere you go, whether I'm going for an ISMS audit or I'm going for an implementation like FedRAMP or a HIPAA high trust, data classification and encryption have become the fundamental security elements now. If your product can help me with that from the word go, half the
Yes.
battle already won. Sankalp, over to you.
Yeah. Moving forward, like let's look at from a global perspective. Like, do you think that we need security solutions that are more suited for India needs, or are just like the global tools that we already use enough for us? To both of you.
Mm, Tirumalesh, I've spoken a lot. Help me here.
As we both previously mentioned, there are a lot of overlap, right, between compliances and requirements of each country. So we don't need completely new tools, but we need a new thinking. And thank God, government is enforcing regulations now with DPDP, maybe very near future. And I don't think we need completely new things, but the world itself need new thinking in terms of security, and that's where we are trying to bring that new thinking. Right? I honestly believe the security and the computer infrastructure itself is stuck with 20th century mindset, where what is the most important thing in a computer, in a phone? uh, the most important thing is hardware, and the next most important thing is the company that's going to make that phone. And you know what is the least important thing in that phone? You, the one who paid for it. You know why it happened? It happened from the basic concepts of computer systems. Hardware is the most powerful thing. Then the OS is the next most powerful thing. And add layers, layers, layers. And last comes the user. In 21st century, if my privacy is the fundamental right I have in a country like India and many developed countries, and you telling me I am the least important in a device that I own, imagine the services that we take from cloud or some other platform providers. Where do I sit? Even in the device I owned, I am the least priority. Where do I sit when the device I rented that is owned by someone else? Where do you think I sit? Not even there. I am just
Yes.
there to pay. So that fundamental shift needs to happen in computer systems and technology. Previously, it was done because the hardware building is very complex, very costly. It's no more true. So the fundamental shift needs to come, and we should start from the user point of view. That means, as Atul mentioned, we should start from the data centric point of view. Data is the most important thing, and the owner of the data, the creator of the data, should own it completely. Whatever he demands, the data should do exactly that, nothing else.
No,
Right.
very aptly put across, Tirumalesh. See, Sankalp, as we both have all already in unison, the question isn't whether platforms are India specific, but whether they meet India's unique requirements.
Hmm.
For regulated sectors, data residency represents just one of the requirements. Platforms must navigate India's complex landscape of compliances. India, Indian cloud providers have matured significantly, I give them, but capability gaps remain in specialized areas like recently we have got AI, ML governance, advanced threat protection. Organizations, on the other hand, they should assess providers based on comprehensive compliance capabilities and security posture, not merely location, not merely cost. As the Data Protection Board would refine, the cross-border data transfer requirements, believe me, with DPDP, with its uh, teeth and claws in place, this evaluation framework will become increasingly important and a learning lesson for anything and everything to be done by products, organizations, companies going forward.
Very aptly put.
God. Any final thoughts, like before closing the session?
Atul sir, your first.
Yeah, just because I'm a senior citizen, you're giving me the preference. I appreciate that.
No, no, out of
See,
respect.
see, what I can say in my limited exposure and experiences, see, because I work across various industries, manufacturing, automobile, telecom, IT, automation, and you won't believe the AI word when it has hit the shelves few years back. And I was wondering that I remember the day when I was heading robotic process automation organizations, leading the chatbots, and we were talking about cognitive impact of chatbots, their ability to learn from the KEDB or known era database from knowledge management systems, and where we are. So the future of security isn't about more tools, but about better integration with business objectives. As India's digital economy will accelerate, security leaders will be forced to enable safe innovation rather than merely preventing breaches. Breaches are already known. So you are telling me I have not met or I avoided the breach which happened to XYZ. Something else is already happening which nobody else knows, and you are the first example of that. So this requires balancing the technical expertise with business partnership. My humble advice: elevate security to a strategic business conversation, not just a technical discussion limited to your IT head, limited to your CISO, your business unit heads, and finally your legal team telling you, I just need to be compliant. That's all. It won't work like that. It has to be a strategic business conversation where you may have to drop certain things. You have to shed extra load. If you want to be lean, you want to be safe, you want to be agile enough to move forward. So that
Perfect.
will comply with your roadmaps. Again, roadmaps need to be not with the revenue alone. You have to look at the compliance posture, the evolution that is happening globally. Something is happening in Europe, has happened in Africa, will happen in India. So security has evolved, as Tirumalesh rightly said, that we have to evolve from the department of no to the department of how. And this is what you are doing at Indus. I'm really impressed because data residency without proper data governance is just changing the geography of your risk. It's not changing the risk.
It's like security like should not be an afterthought. Like real security is about like building habits, awareness, and the right mindset from the very start. Tirumalesh, like
Very true.
your final
Yes.
thoughts.
So yes, it was very nice hearing Atul, and it was nice to know few things and validate few things and learn few things. Right? It was always nice. My final points is, as Atul rightly brought the AI, I just want to close with a big statement. If your company is run by data, if your company's asset is data, please be aware that in very short time, in few years, your data value is going to go to zero if you don't protect it from the AIs.
Very true.
But how
Very
do we
true.
protect it? A company, your platform provider or cloud provider, if they are also working on large LLMs and investing billions, they can simply issue a statement one day saying, my LLM jailbroke. So what do you do as a company, right? There are very few ways you really have protection against anything, against cloud providers, against the data residency. None of those are going to actually save you if this happens. Trust me. If AI LLM runs once on your data and adjusted it weights, your data value is zero. I'm telling you. No one has to come to you for the answers. They can just type it in ChatGPT or some other AI model and they will get the exact answers, the exact insights. So Indus and YSafe is one of the very few real ways that is out there in the world today that can guarantee you your data value going forward. So please be aware that compliance, as Atul rightly pointed out, the checkboxes, the residencies, the legal compliance, nothing is truly secure. So we need a unified approach. Until that, you need to protect your data. So if your data value is zero, then what is the company's value, right? If the company is data driven. So please protect yourself.
I loved this, Tirumalesh, the moment you said it, that data value is going to diminish to probably zero or sub-zero even. Because very recently we have been hearing past couple of years that data is the new oil. So, and then we are going hybrid, we are going green, we are going hydrogen, we are going electric. Similarly thing is happening with this. So compliance, people fail to understand that compliance represents the floor, not the ceiling. It's the starting line, not the finish line. So, post breach, organizations have to exceed the regulatory requirements to rebuild the stakeholder trust. I personally have been part of an organization, it was a big conglomerate not in India, that following a significant incident, we established a public dashboard tracking remediation progress against the key metrics. This transparency paradoxically strengthened the customer trust despite the initial breach, and they came back and better than where they had lost with the breach. So, proactive accountability and not just regulatory adherence will take you forward.
Correct.
And this
Very
is
aptly put.
very nicely done, being done, or you can say can be assisted to clients by your organization. Because the way you are telling me the threat surface reduction, the removal of all unnecessary frills and razzmatazz of roles and responsibilities and documents, man, it's utopian. This is what a company needs. This is what a client needs.
Yes, we are always allowed to empower, right? So the regulations and industries. That's
Amazing,
all,
amazing. It
Sankalp.
was
Thank you very much, Atul, for your time and the valuable insights. Thank
no,
you.
no, no. I really loved it because I could actually in person talk to somebody who is bringing things and thinking in the way that is much needed. Probably this will set a precedence for others to follow and realize that they cannot arm twist their clients by selling them tools and hardware and dashboards. They have to actually work on something that takes away the requirement of all of these.
Absolutely.
So,
Thank
really
you.
glad. Thanks for having me here. And it was really insightful. And I really look forward to assist in my humble capacity as and when required.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Atul sir. Thank you, Tirumalesh sir, for such a nuanced and honest conversation. Thank you.
Sankalp, thanks to you and Chaitanya for orchestrating this entire thing. We really are grateful. Otherwise, Tirumalesh and me would not have been able to, play ping pong here.
No,
Thank you
no,
so much.
thank you, Sankalp. Thank you.
Thank you,
Very good.
guys.
Bye.
A good day. Cheers.